Hey you, I'm live and I'm in Blue Water Shopping Centre just outside of London. And as you can see, I'm standing right outside our wonderful hero, the great, the one and only inventor, entrepreneur, multi-billionaire, wonderful man, great human specimen, Elon something smells Musk. Well, I hope that I didn't oversell our man here, but he is single-handedly credited with bringing this wonderful car, this overpriced machine, this belated battery technology to our attention. Actually, it looks like Elon Musk right over there. No, it doesn't smell like Elon Musk. Anyway, that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to show you something far more interesting than that. Directly opposite the Elon Musk show, I want to show you something very special on the floor here. Something very, very special. Oh, what is that? What have we got here? This, my friends, is a flat Earth map. A projection of the Earth. Not on a ball. It's got some interesting lines and the equator as well, but it's a bit of a staggered line. I won't get into the detail of that. I'm not sure you're going to be able to see that. I do want you to look into the ceiling and check out the oculus directly above my head. Isn't that beautiful? Is that the human eye? Is that the eye at the center, connecting to the third eye, the pineal gland, and everything beyond that, which we can't see here? But down here, we're held in this glass chamber with a hard glass roof on our head. It's very interesting. There's a couple of gentlemen here. I might be able to have a chat with them. Good afternoon, gentlemen. You enjoying your coffee? Yeah. I was just admiring this piece of architecture here. Have you been here before?
We're up in 3 or 400 weeks.
Oh, yeah. Oh. We like it, yeah. I've been here a few times, but I don't get here as often as that. You obviously live local.
Yeah.
What? Do you ever look up at the Oculus?
Yeah, it's good. It's nice.
Can you tell me anything about it?
Well, it's like a, you know what do you call it? Have you seen the hop things out
The hop,
in the country?
yeah.
These are built the same way, a host houses.
A host house.
To bring the cool air in. They use the same principle. If you go outside,
yeah.
You'll see a lot of those sticking up. And that brings a cool air in.
Okay.
Yeah. Designed by an Australian.
Was it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I think it was built by an Australian.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that Australian shopping magnate.
How many tons of chalk did they ship?
They had to shift 3 billion tons of chalk.
Yeah, but these trips have always been here.
Wow.
Since, if you go down to Graceland, there's a big lake here, called Blue Lake.
Yeah.
It's not a proper name for it, but we call it Blue Lake. When they was digging out chalk years and years ago, they had a, what do you call it, a steam train there going from pit to pit, carrying the chalk around, and they hit an underground river.
That's really interesting.
Lovely, it's still down there under the water.
Do you mind if I film you? Do you mind if I film you? I have a small YouTube channel, about 200 people follow me, so it's not very big, but if you don't mind. What's your name?
Mine's Colin.
I'm Dave. What's your name? Gucci. I like that name. You've got quite a distinctive look about you. Jamaican? Oh, okay. You spend time out there? You born there? Or? Okay. No doubt. So you were saying about there was a river that flooded?
Yeah, this is all those this is sinking.
Yeah, sinking. Is it? Is it?
And yet they're putting in a statue.
That makes no sense. Do you think? Yeah. Ah, yeah. Huh. Well, I have known as mud flood. I don't know if you've ever come across any research on mud flood, but mud floods, where we have like a massive water inundation that leaves behind 5, 10, 15 foot of silt. And then what they do is they come in back afterwards and they just sort of dig the buildings back down to where they can get in, but they might say make the ground floor now it's below the so they'll just make the ground floor the new ground floor and they'll make a basement out of the old ground floor. And if you look at Canterbury, for example, what they say is if you look at all the buildings that are below the street level, so much of the buildings below street level now, they say, well, previously people just threw their rubbish into the street and they just piled up. But we've found a lot of evidence that actually there was a lot of flooding that happened, and then it would leave behind the silt and they just wouldn't be able to dig it all out, so they just dig around the front windows. You see it in Chelsea, you see it all over London, where they've just dug out like in front of the building and then they made a new up to the first floor. They've made that the ground floor level. So that's the mud floods, and it just makes me think of the same thing. Whereabouts is that? Well, Canterbury's one of the best examples around that I've seen, but you see it pretty much everywhere, where buildings where they'll have like a half a window at street level. And it'd be like, well, who would have built a building with a window at street level? No one would have done that, right? And if you see how beautiful sometimes they are, it's like this beautiful sort of, why would anyone want to open their window and they'd have to look up to see the street? If it rained, stuff would be coming down, people would be looking down. You wouldn't design a building like that because you'd have to dig that far down and then you'd have to dig your foundations even deeper. So that's a lot of holding in that you've got to do to build like that. It's simpler just to build straight up from the ground. Yeah. The window tax. The window, I know about that. Yeah. That sounds like a possible kind of like, I found a lot of excuses are made by our government about how things happen and why they happen the way they do. I don't know if you guys ever looked into, yesterday was 9/11, the anniversary of 9/11. I don't know if you ever looked into that beyond what we were given on the BBC. That wasn't done by those 19 guys. I don't know if you know that, but it turns out that there's a lot of skullduggery going on in our world today. And you may already have known this a long time. I only figured this out 3 years ago, that actually the stuff that I used to watch on the BBC and Al Jazeera and even the documentary channels like National Geographic and so on, I used to take them at face value, but it turns out that stuff's propaganda. I mean, I was born in the UK, but grew up in South Africa, and I was propagandized into apartheid and into the Angolan War. We thought the communists were coming to overrun us and all this sort of stuff. I really believed in all of that, but it turns out it's all propaganda. It's different propaganda here, different propaganda there, but it's still propaganda. And it's being led by... Yeah. It undermines my faith. Like, I don't know if you ever looked into the Kennedy assassination and whether you thought that was legit, whether they told us the truth about that. But you start to ask yourself your question is if they can do something like 9/11, if they can pull off someone like 9/11 and none of the governments call them out and say, hey, we know that there was a false flag attack. We know that wasn't the 19 Muslims. There's no evidence to show that. There's no evidence. There were even planes in some cases, like in the Pentagon and so on. There's no evidence of that. And none of the world governments will say, hey, we really know what's going on and we're calling you out. We've found evidence that it seems like all the governments only operate under license. You get to be a government by permission, by central permission, because your borders are drawn for you by who? Who decides that you're a country? Who decides that piece of land is going to be called North Korea and it's going to be run by, this dynasty? Well, the Saudis are the same. Yeah, like a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
My YouTube channel is called Trinity 4. Yeah, number 4. Yes. I'd love you to do that. I'd love you to do that. I talk about some other subjects that you might find interesting, but yeah, the number 4. Number 4. Thank you. But the Trinity meaning, or the 3, because, you know, I'm interested in mind, body, and soul. You know, I'm a 50-year-old guy. I've got 3 children. I'm a military veteran. I published a book on my exploits in the military. And then I found out that the government that I've supported, that the Queen that I marched past and so on at Remembrance Day here in the UK, is maybe not telling us the truth about things. And I'm just about the truth. I don't really mind where it leads me to. I don't want to take no favorites. I don't want to support the Muslims. I don't want to support the Christians. I don't want to support anything but the human. That's the only thing that I'm interested in supporting, you know. And the truth is that I'm seeking to understand that for the betterment of all of humankind. I was never into religion. I'm still not into religion. But I do know now that there is something much higher. There is a higher power of some sort that is in existence, and there's a lot of goodness that we're meant to be finding here. We're not finding it at the moment. Anyway, the reason I started my YouTube channel, gentlemen, is something quite crazy. I'm going to throw it right at you so that you can think about it. You can argue with me about it. But it's maybe something you've heard about before, and that is that we can't find any scientific evidence that Earth is a spinning ball in a vacuum called space. That's where we're at. We're saying that the modern science has gone beyond good science that you can test and measure and into science that is of the mind, like imagining billions of light years and things that we can't measure, things that we can't touch. Yeah, a lot of, as Nikola Tesla said, he's got a shop over here apparently, but as Nikola Tesla is credited with saying that the modern scientists like Einstein are getting carried away in mathematical formula that are leading them up into the universe. That don't make sense. Yeah, yes he did. Yeah. Correct. What happened to that? Well, I don't think a lot about the car, to be honest, because I don't think a lot about the man, Elon Musk. I think that he's a character that's been put in a role. I think that the technology that Tesla developed, they always had that. You know, they kept that technology, they developed it in secret. If they're applying it here, then maybe they're doing it. I think they're applying it in our jumbo jets. I think that for 40 or 50 years, our jumbo jets have been running almost fuel-free. If they need fuel, they only need a very little, because they're these highly tuned engines that can actually generate their own pressure and then create their own overpressure, which they then use to run the engine, keep their engine running. So once it's kicked up and running, I don't think it needs much or any fuel as such to keep going. And we've looked in. Now, this is something called over-unity, where you've got an engine that creates more energy than it uses to run. So you've got spare energy to burn. You keep it in these sort of high-pressure tanks in the wings, but the wings can't take the weight of 50 cars on. That's what they're saying. There's 50 cars on each wing. And then when you turn the plane like that, think about the sloshing of that amount of fuel. It would kill the plane. So we think that they've been running on fairly free engines for a long time, using air, certain turbine pressures that they've found in water and air. So this is where we're at. We're saying that actually there's a lot of stuff we're being lied to, and the shape and the nature of our Earth. Yeah, if you don't mind. Yeah, if you don't mind, let me see. I've got a few people watching. Just a few people watching. Yeah, you'll have to check it out on YouTube. But so let me. Trinity 4, yeah. I'm zoomed in by mistake. I don't know why I can't zoom out. That's better. But guys, you know what I think? That the science that back in the late 19th century, late 19th and early 20th century. They tried to prove that the Earth was spinning. The best scientists in the world tried to prove that the Earth was spinning, and they could not. So they had to wait for NASA to come and prove that Earth is spinning. Because we got rocket science in after World War II. The German scientists went over to America on Operation Paperclip, and they went, Werner von Braun and others went and set up NASA. And then along with Disney, they started giving us what we now think is images of Earth from space, but they turn out not to be photographs, but images. NASA are being caught out, basically. There's even a video of Buzz Aldrin saying 3 years ago, he said, an 8-year-old child said, "Why haven't we been back to the moon in 60 years?" He said, "That's a good question, and I think the truth is we never went, and we need, if that's the truth, then people need to know that." Something along those lines. Basically admitted never to have gone. And if you see the interview of Buzz Aldrin and the guys when they came back from the moon, the immediately after the moon, they look like guilty men on the dock. There's a great documentary called A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Moon. That's on YouTube. If you watch that documentary, it's actual footage of that time that's been pulled together, and it's, once you see it, it's damning. Sorry? Yeah. But you got to only work this. You can only tell yourself that by looking at this footage. This is actual footage, and you go, okay, there's footage of the lunar lander. We got Neil Armstrong testing the lunar lander and proving that they never once got the lunar lander to work on Earth. And the excuse is always, oh, well, because the gravity is 6 times less, it's going to be a whole lot easier, no problem. But all you ever see is them trying to fly a chassis, not even the whole body, and they can't get close to handling it. He has to eject. So once you start to see this footage and footage of them, what looks like they're actually inside of the LEM, and they're creating the image of the Earth being sort of halfway between the Earth and the Moon. You can see them in the footage and talking about creating the shots and so on. This is actual them talking in their LEM. Now, if someone's gone to an awful lot of trouble to create this as fake, you can believe in that, but that would be some kind of, that's a lot of a reach, because you see this footage and it looks legit. So that's what happens. A funny thing happened on the way to the moon. There's another documentary where the same guy called Bart Labrelle, goes around and tries to find these astronauts and presents them with a Bible and says, "Did we go?" Put your hand on the Bible and say we went. I mean, when you look at these guys talking about their event, their time there, none of them speak, with an open heart. None of them speak clearly and concisely and share the same information. Like, can you see stars when you're out there? Some say yes, some say no. And it's going to be an absolute either or. It's all total black out there, or it's a riot of color and stars and so on. And then you look into the moon landing, into the spacewalks and so on, and those spacewalks are full of holes. There's bubbles lifting up from the spacewalks, and they say they are some kind of thing in the atmosphere, but it's more likely they're in the swimming pool, which is where they train. And as I tell people, if they're in the swimming pool with those suits at 3 bar of pressure, how come they look the same in a zero pressure of a vacuum? So I'm offering you, gentlemen, something that is that the old texts in the Bible that I rejected as a 13-year-old for being flat Earth related. I think that they might be more accurate than we ever realized. You think that's true? You think that's possible? Oh, that's nice to hear. You know what that means is that they possibly still hiding land from us like they did before before they told us where America was. And maybe they're still hiding land from us. But if this is this oculus, because I think this is an oculus, which is like an eye, and pointing down on this is like the heavens above, and this is like the eye above, keeping it, like they say, God's watching from above, watching down on this little cage or this little prison that we inhabit now. And if that's true, then thousands of years have passed since our forefathers knew the truth about who we are and how important we are, and that we may well be the pinnacle of all creation. We may even be the creator, having an experience of itself. How about that? I hope I haven't overloaded you. That was fun. That was fun. Thank you very much. Trinity 4. Trinity 4, yeah. A funny thing happened on the way to the moon. Just watch that documentary, because you start to ask yourself you've got to ask yourself those serious searching questions going, shit, because up until 3 years ago, I was a full moon landing believer. I was having to make all the excuses for the flag waving and the shadows and the number on the rock and all those things that everybody knows about. But then you start seeing other things, you go, shit, I never knew that. And if I'd known that...
I'll ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
Do you believe in reincarnation then?
Well, there's one way of thinking about the reincarnation story, and that is that if the Creator was like one pool of water, and each of us, as we came and experienced our life, was like a droplet that left the pool of water for a brief period of time and died and returned to the pool of water, then at every time we were born, or at every time there was a birth, we would be reincarnating. Every birth would be us reincarnating, and every death would be us dying, and every love given would be us loving ourselves, and every hate given would be us hating ourselves. So that is the kind of no religion idea of, wow, we're all fucking one. And I learned something else 3 years ago, is that we have a pineal gland in the center of our brains. The Egyptians called it the eye of Horus, or the eye to God. And I had an experience 3 years ago. It's like a near-death experience. It opened my pineal gland for 5 minutes. And I had an experience that changed me from a total atheist to a believer in a creator, being part of something awesome, being part of something loving, awesome. I had that shift in 4 or 5 minutes. My dying mother couldn't get that shift to happen. But this, in 4 or 5 minutes. So I've done a lot of research on the pineal gland to understand how it works, what it is, and so on. And I have to tell you that it's definitely worth researching the pineal gland and our connection to that, its connection to the higher thing, the higher realm. It's like the third eye. They say that it fills with some. I won't go in deeper. I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it at that and say that we are actually, I think, the essence of the Creator, whatever you call the Creator. All the best, gentlemen. Thanks for your time. Thank you for your time. Much respect. Have a great life. Cheers. Now, I can turn my camera around, I guess. I turn my camera and say, hey, thanks for watching and listening. I hope that wasn't too arduous. 2 interesting gentlemen there. I enjoyed that. That was very cool. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think they still have a little taste for a bit more information. But hello, ladies. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. Ladies out shopping, I guess. Anyway, this is not my favorite of places, but I promised to bring my daughter, who's going back to her 2nd year of university. University, huh? One verse. We did have some troubles over the last... When I discovered all this stuff 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago, she was finishing her high school before university and so on. So this hurt very much. Anyway, they're here for them, and I was like, wow, what a fantastic opportunity to come and show you this beautiful piece of... And actually, it's worth, for those people who are research-minded, it's worth looking at this shopping mall, which is called Blue Water, because there are some other beautiful clocks that were commissioned for this, and they are freaking... When I saw them, I was like, oh my God, I forget all the names now. It's been a while since I looked at this. It's like, what the fuck? These are telling. You know, they're astro-theological stuff that's really, really worth... That's... I don't know. So very beautiful clocks. And then that guy was saying about how this place has been flooded before, and it's like this chalk and stuff like that. I'm like, this is some sediment. This is mud flood sediment. Anyway, I have had a fun time, and that was really cool to share that little bit of activism. Oh, I should go and leave them a flyer, man. I've got one of Harry's flyers. Damn. Yeah, of course I should. I'm not very good as an activist. There needs to be a little follow-through. I'm going to have a key performance indicator meeting with myself a little later on and address these shortcomings in my performance. I'm going to leave these guys Gentlemen, I'm sorry, I wanted to leave you a flyer, some information just to take home. On the back of there, some photographs that should be impossible if we lived on a ball. very impossible. There's some beautiful ladies here, and I just want to give them a little flyer. Do you mind if I give you a flyer?
Yeah.
Some information.
Thanks.
With love. Have a super day. Yeah, have a super day. And a super life. Yeah, well. Mission accomplished. I'm hoping to join Harry and Jason of the Disbury on their tour bus very, very soon. And I have to confess, a little disappointed that I'm not able to join sooner than I will, because obviously I have work-related commitments and certain familial related requirements to attend. Oh my lord. So it's a crazy shop here. Look at that. Yeah, so I'm going to be joining them in the next week or so, I hope. I haven't actually finalized this, and I'm not going to belabor here, but I'm definitely going to join in and spread a little bit more love. I'm getting more accustomed to it. It's becoming easier, and you know, I mean, you know, don't get so triggered or you know, vexated by whatever. And you know, if you can bring this in a compassionate, loving way, I think I'd do better. Yeah. So I'm sure that would work for most of us, because I've noticed with a few videos I've seen lately and a few comments people have made that you know, it's kind of inspirational for people to be out there and doing their thing. It'll inspire others to follow suit, others who are just as well equipped, and in some cases more equipped to do this kind of thing. Damn, you know, it's kind of rewarding, even though there's people who hate you for it. It is so rewarding. It is so rewarding because, you know, in time these people are going to, maybe not all, but these people are going to go, I get it now, man. And I know who told me first. I'll never see that guy again, but I know who told me, and I am grateful to that strange man with the funny accent and the often unclothed. So I think that it's a brilliant thing to do, you know. Like, you know how when you were, I don't know if you had the Christian indoctrination or the religious indoctrination, and you've got those people coming from the, you're really good, why don't you join in and you know, come and spread the word and stuff like that. Well, I never wanted to do that, man. I never wanted to sell anything, even though I'm kind of good at selling. I never wanted to sell anything. It's like, oh, I couldn't get a job here. Why don't you go and sell something? You can sell stuff. I don't want to sell fuck all unless I really fucking believe in it. And yeah, I really believe in it. And I think that most people, when the flat earth bug has bitten them right hard, then they will be compelled to act. In whatever way. I mean, it's not about all going out there in the street and making a tool of yourself. No. And my art skills are absolutely shite. And I need to come up with a far more kind of concise patter. As I was saying to Andrea earlier today, I need to kind of write something down, man, and just follow a bit of a script in some way, so as to kind of give people a smooth ride and bring them from point A to point Z. You know, in a concise and clear manner. So I'm just saying, do it. Freaking well, do it, and have a good life doing it. I haven't been following the chat. Maybe I shouldn't, because it'd be like delay me saying goodbye, because I don't want to waste your time. Have a super